Hey everybody, Andrew from Blue Ridge Axe Throwing in Roanoke down here. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make a board that is consistent with markings and will give you the best results when you change them out so that all the boards match up just right. I got all the stuff that you're going to need laid out right in front of me. So impact driver, you're going to have your WATL target marker right here, some kind of screw, anything to put it in the middle with, nail, doesn't matter. If you want to use stencils, I've got stencils here. I think it gives it a nice finish, but something to mark out the numbers. You're gonna need a couple of the WATL black markers. These are irreplaceable. So if you just have a permanent or something like that, do be aware, they will not give you the regulation size for the width of the demarcation lines on the concentric circles. A red marker and a blue marker, and then one black ballpoint pen and one red ballpoint pen. Those are super important. And now I'm gonna show you how to start marking out the target on Matthew's board. You're gonna measure the distance to the bullseye from the bottom of the board. Since you're in this trough, if you measure from right here, it's not gonna give you the correct height. So what you're gonna do, pull it up, and then mark it from the absolute bottom of the board. All right. Now that you have the absolute bottom of the board, go ahead, and if you have a T-square, center it up. I think a T-square is immensely helpful. Highly recommend getting one. If you don't have one, just find the middle of the board. Should be 9 inches total, which should put the middle right at 4.5. Measure up from the bottom to 24 inches. You can see ours is notched right there. Then, if you're prepping your boards from a horizontal position, and you're gonna put them up later, all you have to do is mark down so that we know which side is the bottom of the board, and over, and now you have your center all lined up. And then drill in your WATL stencil. Okay, so you're all drilled in. Something really important to do, don't drill it in all the way. You can see I've left about an inch or an inch and a half margin here. There's a reason for that. If you put it right there, you'll have to pull the target up. But if you put it right here, you'll notice that on the end of the WATL markers, they have this. You can slot it right down inside, press it up against the board, and then you can keep the same exact distance from your target the whole time you're constructing your ring. You can also keep the head of your marker oriented in the exact same way, namely sideways. That way, when you're drawing a line, you're gonna get that full thickness to it as opposed to coming around and getting the calligraphy kind of O, where the bottoms and tops, or maybe the sides are thicker than the other parts. Repeat it again every time. Now, if you've got boards mounted to the side, this part can be a little tricky sometimes. They may or may not match up. Sometimes one board is thicker than the other. It might stand out and you'll get these little gaps right there. You don't really need to worry about them. If it's a lead, you'll want to make sure you fill those in, but otherwise everybody kind of gets the gist of what's supposed to be where. The other important thing about this is that you don't want to push this center part in as you go around. The reason for that is that, again, if you're not keeping tension on the marker, it has the potential to slide and maybe start marking up the line thinner, and now you're gonna have to go back over it. When you do, it may not be in the same exact position, and now you can see as my boards shift from side to side, because I'm applying tension differently, I wind up with the marking space differently. So keep even tension on as you go, keep that orientation, and every time that you slide through, you'll wind up with a perfect circle. This is gonna be what you guys look like, because you've got the fancy tension wire, and I haven't gotten around to that yet, but soon. Okay, so something that's gonna happen to you, because it happens to everybody, you're gonna notice right in the middle here, it's nice and dark, you got that full line. But the further you go up toward the top, it tends to thin out a bit. Right here, it's not a problem. You can still see where the line is demarcated. I can tell whether an axe has crossed into it or not. But when your markers start going out, they may give you spaces like this, or like this, where it simply skips, and that might be part of the wood. Or right here, where it gets nice and light. When the wood starts getting chopped up, you're gonna find that if you're judging a World Axe Throwing League match, it can be pretty hard to tell where the line ends. So, always have at least one more marker handy. That way, if the lines begin to get thin, you can go right back over them. And as long as you've kept that tension on the marker the whole time, you're gonna find your lines wind up being nice and crisp. Okay, now all your black lines are in. Now you have to do kill shots. Kill shots, you have to measure out correctly. Every once in a while, you might get a board that isn't quite the same width as the others, and it doesn't quite hang right. And if you don't take your time to measure out where they are, they can wind up being lopsided. A little bit of up and down is okay. Within half an inch, maybe even a full inch, that'll be fine for most customers. For a league match, you really want to make sure these things are as precise as possible. So, get your red ballpoint pen. You're going to take this all the way up to the top. Now, you're going to roll the marker on down. Now, you're going to come to a point where you've reached the edge of the board with this leading edge of the stencil. Right there, you should find that you are perfectly centered in the middle. And what you're just going to do is take that red ballpoint pen and trace around the outside and get that nice little line. The importance of this, if you're going to be grading a league match, you have to know where the edge of the kill shot is. And whenever you start coloring these in, you're always going to wind up with a little bit of variation. The rules state you have to be able, or they did at one time, to spot the blue on both sides of your blade. Well, what if the wood is messed up? What if you missed a spot? Is that still a kill shot if you can only spot blue on one side of your blade? So this line tells you this is the exact edge of the kill shot. Your axe does not have to go into the blue. All it has to do is split that ballpoint pen line in half. That is the absolute edge of the kill shot. If you cut it like this, you are considered to have made it. Now, the temptation might be to color up right to the edge of the line. Don't do that. If you're judging, it's going to make your life a living hell because you're going to have to look real close and see if you can spot it. And it's going to leave room for players to maybe say, well, I'd like a second opinion and a third opinion and so on, so forth. No. So what you're going to do instead, you're going to get pretty darn close. If you do this, you've still got a ton of coverage. The players still know exactly where that kill shot is. You're not leaving anything to the imagination, but you're also sparing yourself a lot of hassle by giving yourself that clear demarcation line. Now your job as a judge is way easier. Repeat for the other side. Bullseye. The temptation is slap this up there, take your red marker, color it in, call it a day. But again, we can't do that for the same reason that we couldn't just color in the kill shots. You need to know where the absolute edge is, and it needs to be the same on every board. So, if you've got your red marker and your black ballpoint pen, go ahead and then find this little hole right there that you drilled in. It may be off center. If so, these are going to be your absolute guidelines. You want to have the amount of black and board in the exact same in both of them, kind of like a crosshairs. And if this is off by just a bit, you'll still be just fine. You're going to take that black ballpoint pen, and once again, go around the outside, make that center. All you got to do now, take your red marker, color it in. This one, you can go right up to the edge if you want. it's pretty easy to figure out which part is black and which part is red. Also makes it a lot easier to aim for the bullseye if you have people that maybe don't have great vision. I don't have the best vision myself, but big red target right in the middle of the board, pretty darn easy to aim for, even if you're legally blind, which if I were, I would not admit on camera, certainly not before driving home. Now the last part, numbers. This part's kind of up to you. Stencils, no stencils, drop your stencils. What matters is that you can clearly see 1, 2, 3, 4, the numbers on the rings. These do not have to be numbered. If for whatever reason you want to write a number in there, I guess you could, but really it kind of messes up your ability to judge what's hitting what. So I just leave it alone. There are a couple of advantages to doing it one of two ways though. The first, do them horizontally. So 4, and then 3, 2, etc. What this will do is it'll help you to keep yourself from drifting side to side, because you'll be able to measure which one you're hitting, just like you would see hatch marks on a crosshair. The other one, and I noticed this one in our most recent league, is that if you put the numbers straight up and down like this, what you find is that people have a lot easier time keeping their arm really straight, which means that the axe, if you're trying to keep it nice and straight, usually winds up sinking into the board just right. You can keep the board together for longer, but honestly, it doesn't really make too much of a difference. They do need to have it clearly marked as to what each ring is worth. And that's it. That's how you're gonna make your target boards. If you follow those steps, you'll find that you can yank out any middle board, any side board, any part of the target, and slap another one back in, and you won't be able to tell the difference. It's really gonna make your job a lot easier, especially if you have the boards prepped beforehand. Now that I've got these made, the next time that one of my boards breaks, I can slide it on in there and I can know for a fact that each of these is gonna line up with the one previously. Don't have to worry about a thing after that. Definitely not whether or not did I turn off my stove.